Hello, my name is Tony. There was a very short-lived movie theatre gimmick in the 70s dubbed Sensurround. It was used in 3 major releases and several low-budget sci-fi flicks until it was wisely mothballed in the early 80s, never to be experienced again. The ABC Cinema in Newport, South Wales had Sensurround fitted, and I saw both Earthquake and Rollercoaster there for that reason. The system involved the generation of rumbling, low-frequency sound effects that the audience could feel. This was achieved by the installation of large horns and subwoofers in the theatre, kicked in when something loud or catastrophic happened in the movie. Well, mostly then, but it was a bit haphazard, you know? Good fun though, especially if you wanted to lose your popcorn, drink, fillings and stomach contents over a 2-hour period. Several women wet themselves. Seems it fucked with their bladders. Happy days, eh? In Earthquake, a bum steer of a disaster movie, whenever there was an earthquake or Ava Gardner opened her mouth, you felt it. In Rollercoaster, during the roller coaster and explosion scenes, you felt it. Maybe they should have brought it back for Casino Royale, for when Daniel Craig copped a rope lashing in the nuts from Le Chiffre. That would have been a laugh, or not, as Dryden might have said.
Made you feel it, did he?
So Rollercoaster then, it has an intriguing pedigree and lineage. It was produced by Jennings Lang. In 1951, Lang was shot by colleague Walter Wanger, another film producer, who thought Lang was porking his wife, the actress Joan Bennett. Wanger pleaded insanity and must have been convincing because he only served 4 months jail time. Lang recovered and went on to produce Eastwood's play Misty for Me and High Plains Drifter. Then later in the 70s, Airport 75, Earthquake, Airport 77 and Rollercoaster. The first 3 cemented his association with the disaster movie genre, and may have, by such association, tarred Rollercoaster with the same brush. Rollercoaster, however, although casually lumped in with the rest of the disaster movie flotsam and jetsam of the time, isn't really a disaster movie. Well, not in the traditional sense, if at all. For a kick-off, you won't find a star-studded ensemble of Hollywood luminaries with dodgy character backstories populating the list of potential victims of whatever disaster befalls. No Fred Astaire, Jack Lemmon, Christopher Lee, Jennifer Jones and the like strapped into a roller coaster or equivalent fun ride, primed to go haywire and mangle their prestigious asses. Oh no, not you. The victims herein are anonymous bums. There is but one episode of disaster for us to see, and it comes at the very beginning. Make the most of it, because the second one happens off camera and the rest of the film is about averting a catastrophic third. If that wasn't enough to deny card-carrying membership to the Disaster Movie Hall of Fame, the film plays more like a police procedural, almost a cop thriller, borrowing heavily from Dirty Harry for its core narrative. That's no bad thing in itself, to be honest, but the feeling of déjà vu is strong, and may leave some palates feeling a little jaded as a result. Oh, an eccentric, quirky LA pop rock band Sparks turn up for a guest appearance, playing 2 numbers. Something Ron and Russell Mael claim as the biggest regret of their careers. Although smashing up the stage and their instruments at the inaugural opening of a roller coaster ride that might well crash and burn was a delightful touch, I felt. That's rock and roll irony, I suppose. In Virginia, at Ocean View Amusement Park, an unnamed psycho, Timothy Bottoms, plants an explosive on a roller coaster track that he can detonate with a radio transmitter. That night, he wanders around the amusement park until he feels the time is right, blows the track, and the roller coaster full of thrill seekers derails spectacularly, resulting in much death, destruction, and carnage. Safety Inspector Harry Calder, George Siegel, who gave the ride a clean bill of health only a few months earlier, is sent by his boss Davenport, Henry Fonda, to investigate. Harry's suspicions are aroused when an elderly, traumatized park employee, a sweeper-upper, tells him he saw the park's local safety inspector walking the ride that morning, at a time when he couldn't have because he was at home. Then counter-information that the old duffer is a bit screwy in the brain puts a damper on his misgivings. Until A fire breaks out on a ghost train at a park in Pittsburgh. Another park and ride with a clean bill of health. Harry feels there may be a connection. More so when he finds out the owners of the 6 biggest amusement parks in the US are all meeting unofficially at a hotel in Chicago. Calder strong-arms his boss into funding a trip to the Windy City, where at the hotel he gate-crashes the meeting and discovers the truth. See, there's this mad bomber and he sent an audio tape demanding payment of $1 million or he will continue to sabotage rides and kill people. The bomber has planted a bug in the hotel room so he can hear what transpires. His ego is stoked when he hears Harry describe him as a smart cookie with technical expertise who knows what he's doing and shouldn't be underestimated. Harry wasn't being complimentary, just stating facts. But you know how nutters get the wrong end of the stick. Such is the bomber's confidence, he explains on the tape that he doesn't care if law agencies are informed, as he believes they can't stop him. The FBI, under the command of Special Agent Hoyt Richard Widmark, are called in. Hoyt thanks Harry for his input, then gives him the brush off and sends him home. You know, we'll take it from here, sonny. Now you just run along whilst the big boys do their thing. Not that simple, though. Our bomber feels he has a connection with Harry, and demands that the ransom of unmarked bills be delivered by him and only him. Reluctantly, under pressure from Davenport and Hoyt, Harry agrees to be the delivery boy. He's run around a packed King's Dominion amusement park in Virginia carrying the ransom. The bomber communicates with him via a radio that he later reveals is packed with explosives. If Harry deviates from his instructions or throws the radio away, it will be detonated. The bomber remains one step ahead of Hoyt and the FBI, who are running surveillance, and manipulates the situation, so he manages to take delivery of the money and vanishes. In direct contravention of the bomber's instructions, Hoyt has marked the bills, which pisses Harry off as he insists the bomber isn't stupid and will know. And he certainly does. Blaming Harry for the failure to follow his instructions in planned revenge, the bomber targets the massive new roller coaster christened Revolution at Magic Mountain Amusement Park in California. Opening day of the ride is at a time of peak attendance on July 4th. In a dangerously crowded park, the bomb squad, disguised as maintenance men, manage to locate the device on the track and defuse it. But the bomber ain't done. He blags a spot on the maiden voyage of the Revolution ride and plants another explosive on the last car. When the ride takes off again, he will detonate it with a radio signal, with Hoyt and his tech team frantically trying to find the radio frequency to jam the signal, and Harry anxiously searching the park on foot to locate the bomber and take him down. It's a race against time, one that gets more personalized as, unbeknownst to Harry, his girlfriend Fran, Susan Strasberg, and his daughter Tracy, Helen Hunt in her first screen role, have decided to attend the park for all the fun of the fair. They might well have a blast. Suspense, traditionally when the audience knows more than the characters on screen. The audience sees things, anticipates outcomes that the characters do not. Like, for instance, a landmine in a war movie with a soldier walking slowly towards it. We know the possible outcome, know the landmine is there in his path, and can only watch helplessly as the soldier slowly advances. Artlessly described suspenses, that sort of thing. Rollercoaster aspires to be more of a Hitchcockian suspense than a run-of-the-mill disaster movie. In The Bomber, we have a character who sees and knows stuff that the other characters don't see and know, or know that he sees and knows. The audience sees and knows, hence the suspense. Is this making sense? If only it were contained within a tighter narrative structure and directed with some energized creative dynamic in play. Unfortunately, the pacing and timing is well off, and as good as the component parts are, they just don't dovetail and gel as well as they might. The director, James Goldstone, had a busy career. He made 20 films in 22 years. If you were looking for adjectives to describe his output, underachieving and disappointing are two that could be ascribed to a greater or lesser degree to nearly every project. Nothing coalesces fully. He wasn't a talentless hack, but then he wasn't a top-tier craftsman either. He never had a big definitive hit. Rollercoaster came closest, I suppose. On paper, a bomber targeting US amusement parks to extort a big financial payout is quite an original premise. There is so much in an amusement park that can go wrong. What with all that complex, heavy machinery and crowds of fragile bodies in motion. Cribbing heavily from Siegel's Dirty Harry is not so original. The bomber is no Scorpio, a raving mad out of control psychotic misanthrope of the infinitely hateable variety. Bottom's character looks like some sketchy overage frat boy, calculating, calmer, measured and intelligent. All things that can make him either more or less threatening depending on the script and direction. There's just something about him I didn't buy. His boyish youthfulness fails to convince. He doesn't invoke hissable revulsion in the same way Scorpio does. So when he gets his, it's more, oh, than yeah! The carbon copying goes as far as to give the lead characters the same initials and Christian names. Harry Callahan, Harry Calder, and a very similar runaround from pillar to post with a bag full of cash. However, there are elements that work in its favour. George Segal makes a great everyman character, bit of a cynical wiseacre with a pleasing line in world-weary put-downs and rebellious cracks at authority. He's a nicotine addict, so desperate to quit smoking he signs up for aversion therapy involving painful electric shocks. Divorced with a girlfriend and daughter who are long suffering from neglect due to his preoccupation with work. I always liked Segal, and he's a good choice for the lead. Affable, relatable, slightly prickly, and often the smartest person in the room. He and Richard Widmark bounce off each other nicely as they bicker and trade some barbed dialogue. Widmark was a Hollywood lead-in man, more aligned with Bogart and Palance than Gable and Cooper. His looks and manner found him more at home with brooding tough guy roles underscored by ambiguous motivation, rather than heroic romanticism. By the late 60s and into the 70s he transitioned into character work. Again, it helps, me at least, that I always liked Richard Widmark, a Hollywood great who seldom failed to bring the goods. The film wants to generate suspense, and it does so quite skillfully on times, by letting us in on what the bomber is up to while Segal, Widmark and company are kept pretty much in the dark. For example, the bomb squad are defusing a bomb on the track disguised as maintenance men. The bomber has seen them, but no one else knows this but the audience. He's been waylaid by a family who want him to take their picture, and he's spotted the bomb squad in the camera viewfinder. Will they defuse the bomb before he's finished taking the picture and the family move on so he can hit the trigger? There are quite a few moments like this, and they mostly succeed. David M. Walsh's cinematography on the roller coaster rides is thrillingly executed, utilizing point-of-view perspective and immersing the viewers in the action. My recollections of Sensurround suggest that it complemented the action in Rollercoaster much more pragmatically than in Earthquake or Midway, because it put the viewers right up front on the rides, delivering a more sensory connection between visuals and the physical experience. Now you could try to replicate this at home with some Marshall amps, bass turned up to 11, and a malfunctioning recliner chair, but it won't be the same. Still, even on a TV screen, the lens work on the rides is impressive. And of course, the ever-reliable Lalo Schifrin is on hand to lay some jauntily discordant fairground musical motifs on us, along with a shot in the arm of some trademark funkiness. The pacing issues are a big problem. It should be a breathless sprint, but all too often it's a leisurely stroll in the park. Literally, several scenes seem to exist just to extend the runtime. There's a shot of a plane landing in Pittsburgh. It lasts for nearly a minute. Now that may not sound very long, but consider on average every page of script translates to approximately 1 minute of screen time. You can fit a lot into a page of script. Such a basic mundane link-in shot does not need to be that long. Sadly, it's not alone. There are several others. They're ultimately down to the direction by the director, who's there to direct it all, I feel. The big money shot comes very early on. The derailment of the roller coaster kicks off the film. It's well constructed, well composed, well implemented. From ominous shots of Bottoms carrying out surveillance on the roller coaster from a vantage point on a pier, to the planting of the bomb on the track, the fall of night when he wanders around Ocean View Amusement Park killing time. It ensures the build-up is suffused with tension and expectation for a catastrophic payoff that doesn't disappoint. Best, most thrilling part of the film. But once its load has been shot though, that's your lot. Nothing that comes after lives up to it. The rest of the film is the equivalent of a post-coital cigarette, a not unpleasant footnote to the main event. That there is the main problem. What could have made it better? Well, putting the ghost train fire at the start and showing it. Positioning the roller coaster derailment where the ghost train ride took place only closer to the halfway mark and, of course, showing it. This way, expectations and memory regarding what could happen at the end are then cast more immediate in the minds of the audience. Or better still, position the derailment at the end and close the film on a real downer. Because what we got to finish up with was a very unsatisfactory and abrupt damp squib that left me thinking, is that it? Then again, who am I and what do I know? I struggle to make these fucking videos, let alone entertain the thought of a multi-million-dollar feature film. I honestly don't mind Rollercoaster, and when compared to hideous contemporary latrine-lining fodder like The Swarm and When Time Ran Out, another one directed by Goldstone, it's absolute streets ahead. I've seen it described by one critic as the thinking man's disaster movie, but I wouldn't go so far as to suggest a great deal of thought is required or that it's a true disaster movie. Seagull, Windmark, the derailment, the roller coaster cinematography, most of the money drop sequence, and Sparks going off script are things to recommend it. Overall though, caution is strongly advised to would-be fun riders. Thanks unreservedly for your time and attention, whoever you are with any interest in this. Feel free to do whatever you choose to do next. Hit like, don't like, comment, subscribe, check out my early access Patreon thing, or make a welcome financial contribution via the thanks button, just to put a smile on my wallet. I'll be back in a bit after my annual visit to Oakwood Park. What's that you say? They shut it down. Why? Rides malfunctioned and people died. Wonder what caused that.